Hey guys, welcome back to Dream Analytica. Today we're going to talk about some of the important reasons why you should probably not use artificial intelligence or dream dictionaries or any sort of reference guide in terms of interpreting your symbols in dreams for several important reasons. I think one of the main reasons why is because it gets you off track, off of the personal associations that you may have with those symbols. And AI is really good at stringing words together and predicting what the upcoming text should be, but it can't tell you what your personal associations are to the symbols in your dreams. That those associations are particularly your own. They're uniquely your own, which ultimately means that the AI won't be able to tell you what your mother means to you or whether or not you like cilantro. It also has a negative impact in that it might say things to you that sound too good to be true. Now, in dream analysis, one of the most important aspects of it is that it reveals to us aspects about ourselves, some which may be good, but for the most part may be things that initially are very painful to hear. Now, the AI won't do that for you. It won't give you the essence or the core meaning of your dream. And there are guide rails in AI that prevent it from speaking in such a way that might be politically incorrect. But dreams are not politically correct. They reveal to us truths about ourselves. So those are some of the issues that surround artificial and using artificial intelligence to interpret your dreams. It won't give you the full truth. Although some associations may make sense and may ultimately resonate, they will most likely get you off track because let's take a symbol, for example, the color red. Now, in the US, red may mean a completely different thing than red in China. Now, red in China is used for weddings. In the US, white is used for weddings. But in China, white is used for funerals. So there's a it also depends on which culture you're from, in which these symbols need to be interpreted and associated. So you really need to understand the symbols in context of what it means to yourself. You always want to take the image and bring it back to yourself. The AI is going to spit some general knowledge or information about those symbols. So they may resonate in terms of archetypal symbols or perhaps a collective meaning, but that completely removes you, the individual, which the dream comes from the actual interpretation of the dream. So the interpretation may resonate, but only in terms of a collective meaning. And how that makes it so much more difficult for you to actually learn and develop yourself from, because the collective meaning cannot prescribe to you all your life's experiences, your individual unique experiences that you grew up with, your experience with your parents, your experience with objects, with environments. They're all uniquely yours. No one can replicate those feelings that you had with certain images, objects, people, except yourself. And that's what dreams really are. They're about the essence of your being, and they come from the essence of your psyche, which is your unconscious. So you really need to understand the symbols in terms of how they in terms of how you personally associate them. So if I ask you red, it doesn't, and if you're from America, you yourself may have a completely different association to the color red than the collective red that America as a culture knows, right? So you may have experienced when you were young something traumatic, like a bloody incident, and maybe that's your association to red. Or you may have seen the color red and won a lot of money, And so therefore your association to that red may be associated with money, which it is in China. Actually, we get these things called red pockets uh, to celebrate a time of year. I'm terrible at this at traditional stuff, but we do hand out red pockets, and they're usually filled with money in them. And so for a person from China, they may associate red with that, with money, or luck, or good fortune. So it really depends, and AI can't tell you that. AI will spit out some general fact about red and say, oh, it must mean uh, something about blood or something about emotions or this and that, but that will throw you off track because it sounds good and it makes sense, but only in the collective sense. And you personally will not have done the introspective work that is required to find that association within you that is required for your integration of your psyche. Now, the dreams are trying to give you a message about your own psychology and trying to help you understand your own psychology. And that's the hard part. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort on your part, as well as the analyst, to help you uncover those hidden meanings of what those symbols are to you as a person and individual with your unique experiences. And to give you insight, I'm going to share with you a dream that I had interpreted for a client, and I'm going to let you try and interpret it yourself before interpreting it, so you know just how difficult dream analysis really is and how deep we go. Although I might make it sound easy um, as we do it here, but it took several hours just to interpret this dream, and you aren't able to interpret this dream unless you had interpreted all his preceding dreams. So you need to have a collection of his life experiences, his psychological makeup, his typology, to really get the meaning of his dreams. You can't just willy-nilly pick out a dream, interpret it, and expect it to be correct on the first go. It's really difficult, and that's how difficult dream analysis is. I need to convey that message as strongly as possible, because a lot of the misconception nowadays in forums, in general public knowledge, is that dream interpretation, first of all, dreams are nonsense, and the second of all, dream interpretation is easy. It's not. It's really difficult, and people who say that it's easy probably don't know what they're talking about, and you can tell just by looking at their dreams of how simple they are, because the more you interpret dreams correctly, the more complicated they become. The reason being is because they come to consciousness, so the messages go deeper and deeper into your unconscious. The messages that need to be conveyed to you are deeper and deeper into your unconscious, meaning dreams only tell you what you don't know. So if you know something, it's not going to bother trying to send you that message. So the more you uncover, the more deeper you have to go to uncover things that are not understood yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll read the dream, and it's translated from German to English. So it's also a bit convoluted. It may seem abstract, but just try to interpret it as best you can, and we'll go through it together, and it'll show you how I went about interpreting this dream correctly. And the reason we know it's correct, because my client and I, we both felt it. We were filled with an immense amount of energy and excitement about this dream. It was an incredible feeling, and he specifically yelled, "There it is! I got goosebumps now," and you could hear it in his voice. His whole way of speaking just changed. You could feel his energy. It was palpable. That's how you know an interpretation is done correctly. If it resonates with the person, if they understood the symbols, if they understood the message, you will feel it. You will feel it, and you may feel it vicariously, but you might not really understand it or feel the same way we did during the interpretation because it's not your dream. But if you have your dream interpreted correctly, you will feel it. It's very powerful, and it's indescribable as well. The Jungian term for a dream working is simply it clicks. So it really feels that way. It just clicks. So let's read the dream. I apologize for digressing, and let's go ahead and take a look here. There was also a part where one guy I knew in school that I hated very much. He touched my bottle, and we verbally attacked him in the dream. Leo, curse, bridge in Höfingen, Danube, everything flooded, street water, boats are coming, we are in the grass, emergency and boats/cars coming through, my bike is there, front wheel is missing, Leo has to pick up a friend and gets my car key, I ask him if he knows how. Now, it sounds all distorted, but you can see the images over there quite quickly. I'm going to give you some time, and you can pause the video to try and interpret the dream and what it may mean to the individual or what his psychology is trying to tell him. And this is exactly how it would go if you were to just input this dream into, let's say, ChatGPT or an AI model and have it spit out an interpretation for you. It's not going to know anything. It's going to give you very generalized content, a generalized interpretation, because it doesn't have any context. But that's what most people do, is they have a dream, they're going to input it just as is, without any context, without any associations, without any history, without any experience, and expect that interpretation to be correct. It's not going to be correct. I would say 99% of the time it's not going to be anywhere near correct. It may feel correct in the collective sense, in the way it says it, but it's not going to be correct. So go ahead and try and interpret it, and let me know how that goes in the comments and see if we are pretty close. But like I said, you have to know his previous experiences, his previous dreams to really get to the bottom of this dream. So I usually start in analysis by asking a lot of questions. And so the first question I asked was, where is this place? And I apologize, I don't speak German, so if I'm saying this incorrectly, I do apologize. But Höfingen in Germany was, I asked him what that place meant to him. So he says that's where he grew up. That's the last time him and his mom and dad and brother were together because his parents had split up. That was around the age of 15 to 16, I think. He said that that was a pretty good time in his life. So he was describing to me what this place meant to him. And then I asked him about the guy that he knew in school that he hated very much, that touched his bottle, and he verbally attacked in the dream. And he said, yeah, it's plain and simple that guy he hated very much. And so he asked me why, out of so many years of never even seeing the guy since he was 16, he's now 27, he's never had a dream about this guy. All of a sudden he has a dream about him, and he's like, why? What the hell does that mean? Now, how will an AI know that? How will an AI help you know that? It won't. And you need an analyst to really help you ask the right questions to get to the bottom of it. So the question I asked was, now we know what the feeling of the guy is. I asked him, when was the last time you saw this guy? And he also mentioned that what was really crazy was that the last time he saw this guy was when he was 16. So that association is tied to the very location he's in, which is in Höfingen. There you start to see the connections build up, and then you can sort of see, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. And he's getting excited too. You can feel the tension build up. Okay, and we had this one question about this Leo character in his dream, which if you know a bit of Jungian psychology, if you're a man and you have another man in your dream, it's usually your shadow. You you don't want to generalize, but you could safely assert that that would be his shadow. So I asked him what his typology is, because you can sort of predict what the personality type of your shadow is if you know your own personality type. But I asked him in real life what his friend's personality type, what Leo's personality type was, and we got pretty close to a personality type. So then we took that. So his unconscious somehow picked up his friend's personality type and then used it in the dream to describe that part of himself, which is unconscious. So that part of his personality is unconscious. And that personality has a personality type. And that's really mind-blowing to understand, that you have different personality types in your psychology. So if he's an ENTJ, so he has unconscious functions too, which means that he has different personality types that would be unconscious in him. So Leo just so happens to be used as the image, has a personality type. So we deciphered based on his personality type, my client, and his shadow's personality type as his shadow to be an intuitive type. Now, how did we come to that? It took a lot of effort, and AI is never going to be able to get to this level, I can guarantee it, ever. So we know that his intuition is unconscious. Okay, so we have all these things now, and we're going to try to put it together. And one really key aspect in dream analysis to pay attention to is usually the last sentence of the dream, which is Leo has to pick up a friend and gets my car keys. I ask him if he knows how. I ask him if he knows how is very important. Now we have sort of a vague idea of what all these associations mean to him personally. Once we got the excitement in, once we knew we were heading in the right direction, I asked him, or I told him simply that, okay, you are in a psychological state which is Höfingen. So when he was 16, so you were in a psychological state when you were 16, and this shadow character that you hate very much, this guy that you hate very much, not Leo, the other guy that he hates very much, that touched his bottle and that he verbally attacked, you are having these feelings now about a certain situation in conscious reality. So it is like borrowing that experience to show you that you are having that similar emotional response or feelings right now as if you were when you were 16 during this time. And that clicked. He was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense now, because right now he's experiencing some problems in his personal relationships with his friends, in which this exact emotional state is occurring in him psychologically. So that clicked. And we're going to get to the message of the dream, which is, okay, now what do you do about it? But to add more detail about the dream, everything flooded. So flooding is a very powerful symbol. Water is a very powerful symbol. So you could say that the unconscious contents, the unconscious usually represents water, as we know in Jungian psychology. So that's a safe archetype that we could use. We could say that all these unconscious content from his past is coming to the surface again and having a chaotic, almost chaotic emotional environment internally, which represents all these boats that are, you can imagine a flood with all these debris and chaos, and he's on a patch of grass, which could represent a safe space, a calm, safe space that he is on with his friend Leo. So he's in this chaotic emotional state and unconscious contents are coming to the surface. Now, what does he do about it? So Leo, his friend, now we know he's an intuitive type, means that he needs to learn how to trust his intuition during these times of self-doubt and insecurity. And that clicked for him. Now, Leo represents intuition, as we meant. And the last sentence, I asked him if he knows how, means you can imagine. He's a very executive type, so he's an ENTJ, so he's very self-assured, self-confident, very productive. He's a real go-getter. But that ultimately means that he doesn't trust maybe his feelings or his intuition. He has no idea of his intuition. As a matter of fact, he doesn't trust it. And here, Leo, his friend in the dream, appears as his intuition. So his dream is literally telling him, you need to let go of control sometimes and trust your intuition, trust your gut, and stop doubting yourself. Because what ENTJs face is, despite the fact they are very confident up front, that they're very assertive, that ultimately means unconsciously they are rather insecure, very insecure as a matter of fact, and are very self-conscious, and they always are trying to strive to improve and do better, and they also project that out to other people. They want other people to do better, but that ultimately means unconsciously he has a lot of insecurities. And so if a friend, which he is experiencing right now, is criticizing him or telling him that he's changed, and the reason he's been told that is because he's reached a certain level of success in life, and ultimately that comes with losing people, because in a way you outgrow them. And so the friend might be feeling insecure about that situation and projecting that onto my client. And so my client, because he has insecurities too, is feeding on that and doubting himself and really concerned about whether or not he really is changing. But his intuition has been telling him, no, you're fine, you're doing good, you're growing. You need to trust your instincts and let them take over every once in a while, and not try to rationalize everything all the time. So Leo here acts as his positive shadow, that he can rely on his positive instinctual shadow side to take control. It doesn't have to be rational and controlled all the time, that he can allow his instinctual side to guide him in a way. And one of his previous dreams, which is the most archetypal and powerful dreams that I think he's had so far, was him and this Leo character climbing up a mountain that he knew in the dream was Mount Wisdom, the Mountain of Wisdom. That's a very powerful image and a very powerful dream. And that can tell you that in order to get to the top of Mount Wisdom, which he described as it seeming similar to Mount Olympus, or the mountain of the gods, that in order to get there safely and successfully, now we know what Leo is he needs to rely on his intuition. So we've interpreted the dream, and we now know what to do with the dream, not just know about it, but to actually act upon it. So now he can start to be vulnerable to his shadow side and allow himself to trust the other parts of his cognition more reliably than he has ever done before. And the most interesting part in all of this is that he always had that answer within him. Leo is just a borrowed image from his real friend, who actually helped guide him a little bit in real life, but the answer was always within him. Leo was always within his psychology. It just took a different form now and turned into Leo. But Leo is always there to guide him, to help him out in times of distress, in times of doubt, in times of need. And that lit him up, because he knew now there's something in him that he doesn't need to rely on anyone's approval to feel good about himself. He has it. He has it. You just returned to him, or his dream returned to him, a part of himself, and that makes him a more whole person. He also now has the ability to identify his shadow. That's part of shadow integration. People think shadow is negative and that you need to integrate your negatives. That's not the full truth. The full truth is integrating both your light and shadow aspects. Some people are more afraid of their light than they are of their darkness. Some people are afraid more of their darkness than their light. That made him more whole. It made him more enlightened. Now you can sort of feel, maybe not completely, but you can sort of understand what he may have felt when he got this interpretation correct. It's indescribable. It's exciting. It made me excited, even though it wasn't my dream. It made me excited because you can feel it. I mean, you feel it. It bounces. You bounce off each other. Now, some people would find that message to be a bit painful, right? Like maybe they don't want to be emotionally submerged, or they may not like the fact that their shadow took the form of this person. But ultimately, it's just trying to show you these are different aspects of your psychology that want and need to be integrated. And when you do so, you become a more whole person. Now, tell me if an AI would be able to do that for you. Even if you type in the associations, it's not going to get close. It's a human experience. It's really important. And the reason why I'm making such a fuss about this is because there are so many forums, and you can go on Reddit where people are using AI and saying it's good. And okay, maybe to some degree it may work for them, but it's going to throw them completely off course. How is the AI going to know that Leo is an intuitive type? That took a lot of digging and Sherlock Holmes work. You also have to understand typology. So unless you type in the AI your entire life's history, your typology, the associations you have to the other people's typology, it's not going to. Now, if you write water, maybe it'll get that interpretation correct. You say water, okay, it probably means the unconscious contents. But that's about it. It's not going to get you near that feeling, which is what we're trying to get at here, is understanding. And that understanding is really like learning something new or experiencing something new for the first time. It's like going to Disneyland for the first time. It's a feeling that you can't get unless you do it, in my honest opinion, with another human being. It doesn't have to be an analyst. You can do it with your friend, but you shouldn't do it by yourself, and you shouldn't do it with a dream dictionary or a AI or anything like that, unless they're archetypal symbols in which you have no associations to, or maybe like a very collective symbol like a snake. Maybe that's fine, and it'll help you get on the right track, but don't rely on it completely to interpret the dream for you. It won't get you near as close. So let me know if your interpretation was pretty close. I think most analysts, if they ever watch this, would know instantly that that's not enough information. This dream is, there's not enough information to be able to decipher the interpretation without knowing the context of the individual and maybe more of the dream images. But that's all I got. But I have my client's history intact. So recommendation wise, try not to do dream analysis on your own. It's very difficult. It's not recommended even in the Jungian sphere. And the reason being is because you cannot see your own backside. It is really trying to like look behind you. You can't see behind you. Even for myself, I'm not excluding myself from any of these recommendations or suggestions. It is incredibly difficult for me to interpret my own dreams. And so then people ask me, how do I do it? I've been scouring the internet to find another analyst that I could rely on, but I can't. I can't find any. I really have to try to hold a mirror psychologically up against my back and be hyper conscious about it, hyper introspective about it, to be able to, I think on a good day, get maybe anywhere from like 3 out of 10 dreams interpreted correctly for myself. It's incredibly difficult. And the reason I know I got it correct is because I get that click feeling that I explained earlier. I think this is a really good example of why you should not use artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, or dream dictionaries that give you a very generalized meaning about what the symbols may mean. They're not good. They're not healthy. It's really good if you, by the way, you can download my app and it teaches you how to interpret your own dreams, where it'll show you the best way to do it. If you're going to do it by yourself, it's not impossible, not recommended, but if you are and you're persistent about it, download the app. It'll teach you how to do it by yourself. And the one way, beyond amplification, and you'll know what that means if you download the app, is, and it takes a lot of work, is writing each symbol down, and for each symbol, write as many associations to that symbol as you can at the top of your head without thinking. Just red, blood, money, so on and so forth, just like that. And then once you have collected all those associations, then you can start to formulate an interpretation. But you can't formulate an interpretation unless you have done that and unless you have done the amplification. So download the app. It's really helpful. It also covers typology. So if you have characters in your dreams and you don't know what their typology is, download the app. It'll teach you. It'll teach you about your shadow functions. There's also a dream journal, and I just recently added a new feature where you could, if you're too lazy to write your dreams, which a lot of us are, you can record your own voice. There's a voice memo, so you can record your dreams with your voice if that's what you prefer. It's a very powerful app. It's a very extensive app. It's useful. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me reach people, and I'm really proud and happy to say that I do get emails and people reaching out to me asking for assistance with their psychology, with their dreams, and wanting to learn more about their anima and animas. That's only possible because of the amount of people that have joined my little ecosystem here, my little channel, who have been extremely amazing and open and honest and kind with their psychology and not afraid to reach out. So help me spread the word that we are here to help. I am here to help with anything related to psychology, and that's what this channel is about. So liking and subscribing really helps me in that way. So go ahead and do that. And thank you so much for watching.